Welcome back to our course. This video will cover stakeholder analysis and SWOC analysis. This video provides an overview of the stakeholders analysis and SWOC analysis to study the internal and external environment of your organization where you are working. Additionally, it focuses on the identification of distinctive competences that are challenging for the survival of your organization. After watching this video, you will be able to develop practical and professional skills related to stakeholder analysis and SWOC analysis design. By this, also you will understand the desired outcomes of a SWOC analysis by understanding your organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges. So, who are the stakeholders and why it is important to include them in our participatory monitoring and evaluation systems? A stakeholder is a person who has substantial ego, credibility, power, money, or other capital invested in our project or programs. There are primary, secondary, and tertiary stakeholders. The primary ones are the donors, our funding agency, project manager, and developer for these projects. The secondary ones include managers, administrators, founders, trainers, and beneficiaries for this project. The direct beneficiaries here, what I meant by. While the tertiary stakeholders involve professional colleagues, the general public, or the community that is not directly involved in the project, governing board for our organization, and the community member who may use the result of the project in a various purpose after the end of the project. What is a stakeholder analysis and how we can implement it? Stakeholder analysis aims to engage all internal and external stakeholders in the process of participatory monitoring and evaluation. The member in the evaluation team should be chosen according to some criteria. So the first criteria is these individuals are having authority, credibility, power, or financial investment in our project or program overall. This person, they already have position inside the implementation of the project. They are the manager, they are the coordinators of the project, for example. They are trying to help us in collecting the findings of the project, or they are giving us the finding of our data that we are collecting throughout the process of evaluation for the project. How to decide who the stakeholder group should be? First, we should consider who has a vested interest in the evaluation process and the outcome of the process. In the previous video, we mentioned that if the people are not interested in the process of evaluation or they are not interested in joining the meeting, they can be a barrier for the process of evaluation. So we should include the people who are really interested in the process. Then we can identify the position of these stakeholders in order to measure how the finding that we will collect from them is really essential for our process. Determine who care about the subject under evaluation. Assess the potential user for the evaluation findings and how they might utilize them. For example, if the donor will use the information collected from your evaluation process and build another project accordingly, so you should definitely include the donors in the process of monitoring and evaluation. Consider groups that will be impacted by the evaluation recommendations. So the beneficiaries can be people who are directly impacted with the results of this evaluation, because you will develop something better for them or you will develop a new project for them. Identify clients or customers of the evaluation and their stake in the outcomes. Recognize stakeholders who have a right to know the evaluation result. For example, your donors, they have the right to know the evaluation of your project, or the beneficiaries who are part of this project and who participated in your project. There are various techniques of stakeholder analysis. A basic stakeholder analysis technique involves using a participation planning matrix in order to determine which stakeholder to approach and by which means, or range from mere information provision to empowerment in decision making in the future. Now, it's your time to make the stakeholder analysis for your own organization and learn more about your internal and external to help you in reporting for the project and also writing new proposals for your upcoming projects in the organization in order to sustain financial stability in your organization. Okay, first we need to draw two circles, or draw it like here in the figure in front of you. In this circle there is the internal stakeholder, that the people that are really affected by your project directly. In the outer circle there are the people that are external stakeholders to you, that they are not affected by your project directly. For example, if we are implementing a evaluation process for a school, so the internal stakeholders are teacher, professors, the dean of the school, the government which is providing funding for the student inside the school. But the external stakeholder can be the environment or the city that the school is in, the other student in other schools surrounding this city or surrounding this school, or the future student that can study in this school, or the parents. Also, we can include the mensa or the food court inside the school and the restaurant inside the school, because they are affecting you directly if you want to evaluate the education system inside the school. After you choose your internal and external stakeholders, you need to figure out which means that you should apply for these stakeholders. So you write the names of your stakeholders and then you figure out, do you want to ignore them in the process of evaluation, or you need only to inform them and keep them informed about the process and result through including them in emails or posts in your Facebook social media or your other LinkedIn or Instagram that you are doing a process for evaluating your project. Or you need to consult them, you need to listen to them and give the feedback about the project to them and also take feedback from them. Or you want to involve them in the process from the beginning and ensure their commitment in the process in order to provide you with regular feedback about your project. Or you need to collaborate with them by asking them for advice and suggestions in order to implement your process from scratch. Or they should be empowered throughout the process of monitoring and evaluation by asking them to facilitate the implementation of the decision-making process inside the monitoring and evaluation process. So, by using these techniques, you will figure out who are the most important people to be introduced and invited to the process from the beginning of the process from scratch. Okay. Now you finish your stakeholder analysis and you would like to understand how the environment around you is affecting the implementation of your project. So, by using SWOC analysis or strengths, weakness, opportunity, and the challenge analysis, you will be able to understand the external environment and internal environment and factors inside your organization and also outside. This SWOC analysis can be implemented in the first meeting of the stakeholder analysis. This SWOC analysis evaluates an organization's competitive situation by assessing internal strengths and weaknesses, but also external opportunities and threats or challenges. These strengths and weaknesses are an internal factor subject to change within the organization, while the opportunities and threats or challenges are external conditions that affect the organization, and it will be hard really to change them. So, in your meeting with stakeholders, I will prefer to use something like this. In this, we will ask some questions in order to get the information about the strengths we have internally inside the organization and also the weaknesses we have. For example, if you are a person or a manager in a project and you hire someone who is really having a degree in the field of the project, this can be a strength. But if you hire someone who didn't understand the project, the aim of the project or the objective, or he didn't study anything related to the project, this can be really a weakness for the implementation of the project and the way of collecting the evaluation for the project. And then you will figure out the external factors for you by the opportunities that can be given to your organization or the opportunities that have around your environment of the organization by, for example, understanding the external funding that you can get for your organization or for the project in order to extend this project or sustain the implementation of this project in the future in different phases. And also ask this question in order to understand the threats or the challenge that facing your project. By understanding all this from the point of view of the stakeholders, different stakeholders, you will be able to capture the whole picture of what's happening internally and externally from your organization in order to figure out how to continue doing your participatory monitoring and evaluation process. So, what can be the purpose of the SWOC analysis? It is helping you to explore the external environment surrounding the organization and identify both opportunities and the threats that can face you while implementing your evaluation process or monitoring process throughout the project by tracking the success of the project and the outcomes of the project. These factors or threats can be coming from political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal aspects, and other controllers that you can't control. Actually, it's out of your control, or actual or potential competitors, which you can change into collaborators. So, by understanding this external environment, you will be able to see how you can affect the public and the non-profit sector that you are working in. And also, you can understand how you can affect your monitoring and evaluation process throughout the process of working with your stakeholders. So, the external environmental assessment, you should understand the social and organizational capacity and complexity actually by understanding how the people or the stakeholders will be involved in the process and also how they are interested in the process and how they will help you during the process of monitoring and evaluation. Also understand if it is supported by your government and the other social sector, how they can help you in order to collect the information for the evaluation process for you. In some countries, for example, it's not allowed to go and collect data from people without taking permission from the government. So if you would like to see how your project is affecting, you have to make sure that you are fulfilling the legal status or the regulation in the country that you are working in. Also, you should consider the technological change and learning more tools in order to collect the data for your evaluation process. So, as there is meetings that can be done online, and then, for example, you can just record this meeting or use AI in order to summarize your meeting so you will not struggle after the meeting in order to change this content of data that you collected inside the meetings into readable and data that you can interpret. Diversity of workspace and citizenship. Okay, this point I can explain it as that if you are going to choose people with different race, with different gender, you should include people with different backgrounds in order to understand the process from the point of view from the backgrounds of the people, either their intra-culture situation, or their race, or their gender, in order to make sure that these stakeholders are really providing you with the essential information for your PME process. And also make sure that the people understand the public problems and the governance of the country that they are working in and they are implementing project in order to make sure that you are fulfilling the process according to the country that you are working in. Also make sure that this process is feeling or giving the ownership for the team that is included in the project, and to ensure for them that this process is improving the quality of life and the environmentalism of the country that you are working in order to improve your system of working inside the organization. And make sure that the result of your process will help you to limit the poor performance inside the organization. And in order to do this, you will emphasize on the learning and continuous improvement of your project. By making the people or the external stakeholders understanding this, and by assessing the environmental situation that these external stakeholders are coming from, you will be able to include them in your process. While the internal environment assessment, in which you will understand your strength and weakness, you need to examine the resources you have, the strategies and the process you are implementing inside the organization in order to measure the performance inside your organization. So you need to understand the strengths and the weaknesses in order to make sure that the process of monitoring and evaluation is done perfectly inside the organization. How we can measure our strengths and weaknesses? There are different techniques that, like management information system, qualitative assessment of the work environment inside the organization, articulation of current strategies, and development of performance indicators. All these techniques can help you to understand your internal environment or internal factor inside the process of monitoring and evaluation before you start the process. At the end of this video, I would like you to use the SWOC analysis and stakeholder analysis in order to understand your situation as an organization, but also your situation as a manager or a person who would like to evaluate the system inside any organization, or use the participatory monitoring and evaluation system in order to implement them inside your organization. Okay. What we learned in this video? We learned how to make sure that we are initiating a discussion that is including all the key decision makers and stakeholders inside our participatory monitoring and evaluation system. We focus on the action for addressing our challenges, weaknesses, also strengths and opportunities that we have during this process. The learning outcomes from this video are the use of SWOC analysis and stakeholder analysis, not only for the purpose of participatory monitoring and evaluation process, but also for the process of understanding our organization in general and the environment that the organization is working in. I wish you a happy day watching more videos and learning more, and I would like you to continue watching our videos in order to learn more about the participatory monitoring and evaluation process, and also governance and management of non-profit organizations in general.